I remember my first time. I had been flirting on and off with this girl for years, then one day I wake up to a text on my Nokia brick phone. It said, "You want to get busy?" I was over there so fast you wouldn't even believe, pounding it out with Crazy Town playing in the background. I would think about all these shows I used to watch that built up virginity to be on this pedestal, and I thought, man, that was very unceremonious of me in comparison. On the flip side of that, you have what happened in July of 1998. That was when two 18-year-olds named Mike and Diane declared their intent to lose their virginity on the internet in a live stream. This is the story of OurFirstTime.com. This video is sponsored by ProTeeth. ProTeeth is a new specially formulated tooth protein powder. It's not made out of teeth, it's for your teeth. It contains vitamins A, B, C, and K, as well as minerals like iron and potassium. That means it's good for you. And it's safe to swallow. And if you have allergies, don't worry, because ProTeeth is made in an FDA-registered facility with no nuts, soy, dairy, or sugar. There's two products, ProTeeth Healthy Gums, which is to emphasize health for your gums, and they got ProTeeth Sport for active lifestyles, because you know everyone has been especially active these past few weeks. So go powder your teeth at proteeth.com and use code WHA20 for 20% off your order. This video took me places that I never imagined it was going to. You know, I thought it was just going to be a quick overview of this quirky old website, and it led me down this rabbit hole of complete insanity. It begins in July of 1998 with a website called OurFirstTime.com. The site told the story of two recently graduated 18-year-old honor students named Mike and Diane. And on the 8th of August, they were going to do a live stream of them losing their virginities. Note that it wasn't Mike or Diane themselves speaking to us, the audience. Instead, the entire website was presented from the perspective of an older gentleman named Oscar. Oscar was a web designer who was guiding them through this process. My name is Oscar, and I'll explain what brought this event to where it is now. Right now, you're probably in a state of shock, disbelief, and utter outrage. That is to be expected. The shattering of taboos can easily shake the pillars of society. Recently, I watched the live birth of a baby on the internet. Later, I wound up in a chat room where the topic was about the live birth. As expected, there were arguments and opinions from every corner of the country. There was one young woman named Diane who made a comment that caught my attention. She said that she thought the live birth was a wonderful and amazing experience. The only problem that she has is that most people think the live birth was beautiful, but if a couple were shown live on the internet in the act of conceiving a child, then most people would call that obscene. She finished by saying, if I could, I would lose my virginity live on the internet, just to show that the act of conceiving a child is just as beautiful as the delivery. I contacted Diane by email and introduced myself. Totally normal thing to do. I'm a website developer, and I asked her if she was serious about letting the world watch as she loses her virginity. I met with Diane and her boyfriend Mike, also a virgin, and we discussed this radical idea. After 2 weeks, Diane and Mike decided that this is something they feel passionate about and have agreed to allow the world to follow them for the next 18 days. Every day on this website, their lives will be chronicled in pictures and text as they climb the pinnacle of self-expression and make their worldwide statement of love when they consummate their relationship on the internet. Over the next 18 days, the older gentleman Oscar would join the two teens and interview them while taking pictures. When you took your AIDS test, you were both a little nervous. How did you feel today getting your results? It was also very much a product of its time. It's bad enough that I had to try and explain to my 10-year-old son what oral sex is because of the Monica Lewinsky stuff. What do you expect me to tell him about what you were doing? The truth. If you weren't around then, it cannot be understated how big of a deal the Monica Lewinsky-Bill Clinton scandal was. But anyway, let me get this straight. You got an older feller from a chat room online watching a live baby birth, hitting up an 18-year-old girl from the same chat room and asking her if she wants to lose her virginity on a live stream. In 1998, decades before OnlyFans. Seems legit. And just look at these 18-year-olds. These 18-year-olds are the most 18 years old any 18-year-olds have ever been. Nothing suspicious at all. And now, when I tell you about a website where two people are intending to lose their virginity on a stream, you're thinking it's probably a porn thing, right? Well, the site's creator didn't see it that way. OurFirstTime.com presented itself as an educational, safe sex experience for teens. This was an angle that was almost immediately mocked by a parody site, OurFirstAnalSex.com. Thanks for coming to OurFirstAnalSex.com for the story of Diane and Mike. People from around the globe, connected by a network of cables and satellites and phone lines, all have access to this site, and the connectivity is the power of the internet, blah blah blah. Anal sex is not dangerous if performed properly. Diane and Mike are played by trained professionals, and will be performing with a full staff of healthcare providers on site. We do not recommend that you try ass pounding yourself unless you are properly trained. You are a healthcare provider, your partner is a healthcare provider, or your partner is deceased or imaginary. We do recommend, before having sex with someone for the first time, that you get really drunk. This will make them seem more attractive. If that doesn't work, try a mild hallucinogen, although this may interfere with sexual performance even more than alcohol does. Above all, have fun. Even if someone gets hurt, try to be certain it isn't you. Despite all the mockery and the very suspicious setup, the site gained a lot of attention almost immediately through both word of mouth and mainstream media coverage. So much so that the servers couldn't handle it and OurFirstTime.com was in search of better hosting. However, it was only porn hosts that were vying to help with the project, and they really weren't interested in doing anything with the porn industry. You know, despite offering a live sex cam. Their lawyer, identified as Mark Vega, spoke to Reuters. This is not television or voyeurism, this is about participating in the dialogue. So stop listening to your minister, or preacher, or pope, or your boss, government, or regular, and take a step in the privacy of your own home on your computer and register your opinion, Vega told Reuters. Ultimately though, the clock was ticking and they had to get something together while people were still paying attention. They realized that they would have to compromise a little bit if they wanted to save the project. Enter the Internet Entertainment Group. The Internet Entertainment Group was the internet's first major pornography company. You probably remember them as the company that distributed the Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee sex tape. It was created by a man named Seth Warshawski, who had built the company with money he made in the phone sex industry. He was a major pioneer in this industry, creating the first website with live cam girls. This put him in the unique position to provide the website with the exact resources they needed. However, what seemed like a perfect match at first wound up being the project's undoing. Not long after the arrangements were made, IEA made a scathing post to their main website, clublove.com. In the post, they reveal Our First Time to be a scam. IEG can exclusively report that those behind OurFirstTime.com had attempted to mastermind a plot to not only manipulate the worldwide media, mislead the public, steal millions of dollars in site admission fees from the pockets of hard-working viewers around the globe, but in their own words, in tribute to Orson Welles and the 60th anniversary, this worldwide hoax will be bigger than his War of the Worlds. As we tell the world, we will consummate our relationship at 8 p.m. sharp, the same time War first began to play on the radio back in 1938. On their website, the alleged virgins answered the repeated question, "Is it real?" with the word yes. However, as smart as selecting IEG was for Mike and Diane, it would also lead to their fall from grace. As the mastermind behind this massive media hoax dreamed of sitting on a white sandy beach, sucking down a drink with an umbrella in it, thinking about the estimated $5 million in revenue to be generated and reading about his scam on the cover of Time magazine. IEG had their staff not only looking into how to resurrect the most beautiful site for these lovebirds, but also to look into the authenticity of the event. Soon, the man who called himself Oscar Welles checked into a $144 a night room with a double bed at Holiday Inn in Glendale, California, with a woman called Lydia Rawlings. After IEG exposed them, they fled the hotel room without checking out. Was having his intentions dissected in a swank high-tech conference room in Seattle, IEG headquarters. It was here, last night, that IEG officials discovered the truth behind Mike and Diane. A truth that not only horrified them, but angered them for what is nothing less than an assault on society and those who relish the internet. And for no other reason than to create havoc, those behind the hoax directed their site to Disney.com. IEG has provided Disney executives with this information. Who is Oscar Welles? The man who bragged to family and friends he'd go down in history alongside Orson Welles. His name is Kenneth Tipton. Tipton was once indicted on obscenity violations for selling videos such as Hail Mary. And one note before moving on with this, my research shows that the movie was actually the last temptation of Christ. His legal defense cost him everything he had, and to this day, blames the religious right for what he claims was an overzealous criminal prosecution. For simplification, we will refer to them as they deservingly do, the scammers. As the post went on, Seth laid out how the event was intended to play out. But here's what Mr. Tipton, or the scammers, exclusively told IEG was really planned for the site. On a daily basis, they would keep the viewers updated. The couple would pretend to intend to lose their virginity. They would go get AIDS tests. The couple would discuss how excited they were. On the big day, the day the couple claimed they would lose their virginity, the website would no longer be free. The website would cost $5 per person. Then, when the moment comes to do the deed in front of the audience paying $5 a connection, the couple would abstain. Nobody has any intention of having sex, said Tipton. You won't even see them naked. Christ, I wouldn't be surprised to find out Diane lost her virginity years ago in the back seat of a Chevy. Mr. Tipton said that he and the scammers who worked with him pulled this ploy for two basic reasons. 1, to make money, and 2, to get back at the religious right. Surely, this was the end of OurFirstTime.com, right? Well, a week later, Ken Tipton, having now dropped the moniker of Oscar Welles, starts speaking to the press. He denies that the website is a hoax, and now says that it will be hosted by Condomania.com. Condomania being a condom store chain. He also announced that there would be a press conference for the event held at Condomania's LA store. The press conference happened, and it did not go well. As he sat uncomfortably in front of a wall of various styles of condoms, Ken announced that the website was indeed a hoax. Or as he put it to the audience of pissed off reporters who were now yelling at him, an internet soap opera. Mike and Diane were revealed to be Ty Taylor, an actor who had just moved to LA and been working as an extra, and Michelle Parma, an actress who was previously in a season of Road Rules on MTV. And they maintained throughout the whole press conference that this was intended to be educational. This was about making a moral lesson, Taylor said. It was going to be the biggest public service announcement ever, Parma said with feeling, adding that if the event had taken place, it would have been about safe sex and abstinence. Reporters listened incredulously as the red-haired Parma explained, you have to hit young people over the head. Public service announcements say, do this, don't do that, wear condoms. But it doesn't sink in because the kids can't relate to them. We are going to relate to young people.
How do I reach these kids?
Obviously, the stream never actually happened, and after the press conference, the script for the final day was posted. Allow me to read an excerpt from this masterpiece. Mike, are you ready to choose which condom? He holds out his bald fist. Diane holds out hers. Diane, ready. 1, 2, 3. Diane displays a flat palm, signifying paper. Mike displays a bald fist, signifying rock. Mike, okay, you won. You choose. Diane, I think we'll use your condom. Alright, not too outlandish yet, this is how the process usually goes. Mike picks up a packet off the end table near the bed. He starts to tear it open, but has difficulty. Diane, did you read the directions? Mike squints at the package. Mike, I'm nervous enough. I can't read writing the size of mouse tracks. Diane takes the packet from him and opens it quickly, pulls out the condom and hands it to him. He shrugs, slightly embarrassed. Diane, it's a girl thing. You could still open a jar of pickles better than I can. They wound up ruining that condom and trying to use the other one before deciding, you know what, fuck it, let's not do this. After they decide not to go through with it, the camera pans to a chair in the same room where Oscar's sitting with them. He then gives a monologue on the importance of Orson Welles and the power of the internet. End scene. You'll be happy to know though that in a parallel world, the couple from OurFirstAnalSex.com did go through with it. It's all over. On August 11th, 1998, at approximately 5:15 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Diane had her rectum penetrated by Mike, and thus they both lost their anal virginity. It was very rewarding for both of them, and they might even try it again in the near future. The transcript of the event will be available in a matter of days, so be sure to return then. Shortly after this all fell apart, Ken Tipton decided to take Seth Warshawski to court for defamation. It took a couple of years for them to actually see trial, and when it happened, the case was dismissed. Ken was given another chance due to appeal, but that too was dismissed, and this time, Seth Warshawski had fled the country. Owing a massive settlement to Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee, he just bailed to Thailand. In an interview, he explained that he had enough money left to live 50 comfortable lives over there. And I thought originally this would be where the video ended, but it is definitely not. I was looking at the Museum of Hoaxes article about this topic when I noticed a single comment. It was left by someone named Darlene Lieblick. In the comments, she asserted that the article was wrong about this story, and she attached a link to what she said was the true story. That link went to the website for the movie Heart of the Beholder. Heart of the Beholder was a 2005 film written and directed by none other than Ken Tipton himself. It's probably most notable for being one of the first acting roles of Chloe Moretz. And it tells the story of a video store owner who runs into a conflict with a conservative religious group over a controversial movie. In other words, a fictional retelling of what actually happened to Ken Tipton in real life. Although the site was mostly about the movie itself, there were two memorial pages. One of them for the director Robert Wise, who mentored Ken Tipton, and one for Michelle Parma, the actress for Diane, who since then had passed away in a car accident. The Robert Wise memorial page tells of how Heart of the Beholder came to be. Originally, Heart of the Beholder was going to be produced for HBO, but they dropped the project. It was Robert Wise who pushed Tipton to make the movie himself. Encouraging him to do over 200 script rewrites, he finally had a finished product. So Ken starts shopping the screenplay around, and he's getting some offers, but they're only writing offers, and they wouldn't allow him to direct the movie. And he didn't want that because he was concerned that if another director ruined the movie, it would be bad for his career. So he turned all those offers down, and at a loss, he consults Wise one more time. Things back in St. Louis were very hard for Ken's ex-wife and their children, so Ken asked Mr. Wise for advice. Mr. Wise said that this situation reminded him of his old friend named Orson Welles. In the 1930s, Orson was a star on radio, which was the largest mass medium at the time. TV had not been invented yet, and movies were still growing. Orson wanted desperately to make movies, but the powers that be thought of him as only a radio person and not talented or creative enough to make it in the movies. So Orson decided to create a publicity stunt to prove them wrong. It was Wise's suggestion that Tipton take after Orson Welles and create his own publicity stunt. Taking Mr. Wise's advice to design a publicity stunt to bring attention to his movie project, Ken first decided to use the internet because it was the newest form of mass communication and it reached the entire world. The hardest part was coming up with an idea that would be instantly popular and controversial, so the content would spread quickly because of reactions to it. Invaders from space had already been done, and there isn't much else you can get from millions of people talking, except sex. Yes, sex. The bane of conservatives, and the delight of liberals. After all, this was 1998, and the Monica Lewinsky/President Clinton sex scandal was going absolutely bananas. Like I said, this was a really big deal at the time. Every possible sexual allegation and innuendo was being dissected daily in every form of media. Ken knew if he could come up with some original sexual internet soap opera, then the conservatives would fire up their email lists and the liberals would rise to defend it, which would create its own publicity. But, try as he could, no plausible story idea would come to him. But that was about to change and become the world's largest publicity stunt ever. And it's on the memorial page for Michelle that they go further in depth about the publicity stunt itself. In fact, the Michelle Parma memorial page contains relatively little information about Michelle herself, and is mostly pages upon pages explaining the publicity stunt and the war with Seth Warshawski. This is an absolutely massive page, so I'm going to do my best to break it down for you. Originally, it was intended that after the publicity stunt, Mike and Diane, Ty, and Michelle would go on to star in Heart of the Beholder using publicity from the stunt to promote the movie. It was asserted that it was never intended to deceive the reporters and they should have known it was a hoax. The reason why they should have known it was a hoax is because they put phrases in quotation marks, such as church-going honor students and losing their internet virginity. Because, you know, that's how quotation marks work. It goes on to discuss the deal with IEG. According to the person that wrote this, the original deal was that IEG would provide the servers at first with no ads and no fees. After 6 months, IEG would retain the website and be able to do whatever they wanted with it. But after the massive traffic came in, Warshawski said, you know what, we should probably charge $5 for this to have an adult verification. Ken did not want the adult verification because he wanted kids and teenagers to see this vital safe sex lesson. It also tells how Adam Glickman, the owner of Condomania, told them that they could make money to fund the movie by collecting user data from registrations. Warshawski was also unhappy that he would not be getting money from the user data list. So ultimately he reneged on the deal and took the site away. And at this point, obviously one of these guys is lying. Either Warshawski canceled the deal because he didn't want to be associated with a hoax, or he canceled it because he wasn't making enough money on it. The page then goes on to explain that the event simply could not go on without the use of IEG's ultra supercomputer servers, and that if everything went as planned, the Our First brand could have been as big as Yahoo, Google, MySpace, YouTube. And it's also explained that Tipton did regret how he went about the stunt. He realized that the Oscar character was a really bad idea and he should have never spoken to reporters in character. To me, there's something interesting to think about with this, and it's that in a way, Ken was kind of onto something. He very badly miscalibrated his attempt, and he probably did it a few years too early, but I can't help but look at something like Lonely Girl 15, which happened 8 years later. It wasn't as preposterous as this, but it was a hoax in the same vein. A dramatized fictional story that tricks people into thinking it's reality. And this still isn't where the story ends for Ken Tipton. You see, I was a little curious about what he'd been up to lately, and I could not believe what I found. You might remember the commenter from the Museum of Hoaxes, Darlene Lieblick, now Darlene Lieblick Tipton. Since then, she'd become the vice president of Fox Cable Networks in LA. Then in 2014, this happens. Veteran Fox TV executive fired over fundraising campaign for relatives of missing Malaysia plane passengers. So for those unaware, Malaysia Flight 370 was a passenger plane that in 2004 just kinda vanished, totally missing along with its 239 occupants. To this day, nobody actually knows what happened to that plane. And at first the reaction to this story was kind of favorable to Diane. I mean, to fire someone for raising money for a good cause, that's real scummy. But then, the nature of the actual emails she sent came out. Around this time, a woman named Sarah Bosch, the girlfriend of one of the passengers, Philip Wood, had been making some press appearances to talk about the disappearance. Darlene reached out to Sarah from her Fox email to talk about a project with her husband, Ken. To the point, my producer/partner/husband Ken and I are working on a project that focuses on the compensation of family members of victims from Flight 370. We both saw your interview with Ronan Farrow and kept hoping he would ask if you were considered family because you were Philip's partner for 9 years and whether or not you qualified for compensation by the airlines or any other kind of, sorry about this word but I can't think of any other, survivor's benefits. If you don't mind, I'm going to turn this over to Ken and he would like to ask you some questions by email or Skype. His email is above. The bottom line is that we want to help you get what you deserve as much as any other family member. Thanks, and I hope to be able to talk to you myself soon. Darlene Tipton, Vice President Standards and Practices, Fox Cable Networks. Sarah thought this might have been some kind of a scam because it sounds like a scam, and more emails came of growing intensity. Eventually, Darlene said that she knew what happened to the passengers on that flight, and that her husband Ken was having prophetic visions of what happened to the flight. Ken's vision can be viewed on YouTube.
Oh, this has got to be an illusion. This has got to be the pills, the medicine. I am hallucinating. This is not real. I got a strange question to ask you. Is this real? Is this real? What's happening right now?
It is.
What is real?
That's my problem. I don't know. I don't know if what I'm seeing.
What are you seeing right now?
I'm seeing.
Ultimately, and you're gonna be shocked by this one, the plan was for Ken and Darlene to make a movie about the Malaysian flight. It would be based on the contents of a secret thumb drive she became privy to at Fox. In March of 2014, 40-year-old Hollywood veteran Darlene Lieblich-Tipton was a vice president of broadcast standards and practices at Fox Cable Networks in Los Angeles. S&P is the department responsible for the moral, ethical, and legal implications of what the network airs. During this time, Darlene was at a high-level meeting to discuss the contents of a smuggled Chinese thumb drive. The drive contained detailed information and previously unseen pictures, video footage, and text files regarding the disappearance of MH370, Malaysia Flight number 370, after the plane had gone missing. The materials revealed who hijacked the plane, why, what went wrong, where it all ended, and why China has a lot to answer for. The movie would also show that the disappearance of the flight was connected to the Chinese government's harvesting of organs from Falun Gong prisoners, and it would be crowdfunded, providing commemorative coins as a reward. And their goal was to have it be directed by Martin Scorsese and feature a cast with actors such as Brad Pitt, Harrison Ford, and Lady Gaga. This movie was not made, and the last post on their crowdfunding website explains why. Update September 29th, 2019. Executive producer Darlene Lieblich-Tipton went to Australia and New Zealand to negotiate the funding of the Malaysia 370 movie. On her return, she was stopped at LAX and questioned by agents of the US government. At the advice of her personal attorney, the Malaysia 370 project is now on an indefinite hold until national security issues can be resolved. All donations have been returned and further donations will not be accepted at this time. The downloading of songs and the purchase of the memorial coin will still be active. I think I gotta get my hands on one of those coins, I like collecting little trophies that come from this channel. But anyway, that's all for now. If you like this video, you'll probably also like my video about HelloMyFutureGirlfriend.com. Peace out.